the author of Teacher at Point Blank, Confronting Sexuality, Violence, and Secrets in a Suburban School. Jo Scott Coe, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, that is a title. That is a that is a stop. That is what is this book about? And that's literally what it's about.
Yeah, it's about how teachers are under the gun. And in many ways, when something terrible happens at a school, everyone thinks, how could this happen? What could possibly happen? And often, teachers' testimony doesn't ever get to weigh into the equation until it's too late. And often at a good school in particular, where you might be treated more like, dare I say, an indentured servant, than as someone who actually has a vested interest in the success of the kids that you're serving, you might be ignored. You might be told that, no, this was not a problem, no, this was not an issue, and then if something bad happens, then there you are. So
I have to ask, are these your stories, things that you observed firsthand, or are these stories that teachers have given you or told you?
It's both. I taught for 11 years at the school I went to as a high school student, so that was a trip in and of itself. But I was a committed teacher, and I started paying attention to how I was behaving and to things that were happening to me. I started listening a lot to my colleagues and started doing research and realized that I needed to tell this story.
I know you don't want to give too much, but anything, one of the most alarming things that you've noticed in a school that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, sometimes when we talk about bullying, I think it's so profound because we've done so much great research about what students do to each other. We don't think about when sometimes the tables turn and a student might turn their aggression on a teacher. This could be, you teach English, as I did. Sometimes it may come across the desk in an essay or in a quiz that no one sees. So then you have the responsibility to deal with it, but it's not done in public. So then the problem is you have now an energy in the classroom between you and the student, and if there's no resolution, no intervention, that's carrying through into the school environment. So you could be stalked. You know, something bad could happen in terms of, you know, your personal safety, and there are cases of that. So
now let's talk about bullying. Bullying has just taken off recently because a lot of things that have happened on the national stage.
Coverage has
taken off. There's always been there.
Yes.
And I think we all remember at some point in school when you remember someone being bullied. And you say kids see things, they know things. You may not know that they know and that they've already digested it. Talk about that, how kids know more than we think they know.
Yeah, they do know, they see, and they also pay attention to how adults deal with it or how they don't. And so if you have a bullying incident, for example, in a hallway, and a student witnesses it, and they talk to a teacher, and the teacher takes it forward, but then no one follows up. The parents, run interference, or administration does not do something quickly, that sends a very powerful message to the bully, the bystander, the victim, and of course the teacher. Because then what we learn is, well, can we really do anything? Is there any coherent intervention process in place? And often there is not.
Now, I think yours is interesting, your book, is because it talks about a suburban school.
Right.
When we think of suburbia, we think of candy-coated this, candy-coated that. We think our problems are inner city. But you said, when you were saying to me, in suburbia, there's a whole onslaught of problems.
Yeah, well,
different problems.
Think about Halloween, the movie. It takes place behind the green hedge, It's the beautiful houses with the nice lawns where creepy things are happening. So it is a template for a certain kind of horror that we deny. And so I think that we have to stop denying things that are real. There are problems everywhere, and sometimes in those nice places we tend to hush-hush things. When I was a high school student, someone committed suicide on campus. This is 1983. Nobody knows that story except those of us who were there at the time. It was horrible. But this is a good neighborhood where nothing bad happens, but of course we know it does. So I think that dysfunction, that it has to be good all the time, is part of the problem,
Okay, so your book is full of stories, and you're hoping, what are you hoping, that kids will pick it up, that adults will pick it up, and by picking it up and reading those stories, are you hoping that a dialogue takes place or action takes place?
Yes, I think that's where it's a dialogue we're not having. I think it's a great act of hope to look into the darkness sometimes and to acknowledge it. It's a part of physical healing. It's certainly a part of emotional healing. And we're very addicted to success right now as measured by a score or a data point. But as far as the human complexity in schools, when it comes to teachers and students, I think that this might help open up a little bit of that darker conversation that we can then heal.
Okay, I have one last question for you, so it's going to be quickly.
Okay.
I know you shop this around. When you shop around something like Teacher at Point Blank, Confronting Sexuality and Violence.
No one wants to hear that.
Exactly.
True.
So how did you get it done? How did you get this book done?
I actually found a San Francisco press, Aunt Loot Books, and they're a feminist press, and I think that this is perfectly appropriate. 8 out of 10 teachers in the U.S. are women. That's something we don't talk about except as a problem, and it's interesting to kind of think about. the sexual dynamics there. So that's my home now.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We can get your book at Amazon. You also said at Barnes & Noble.
That's right. Request it. They'll probably order it for you, but yes.
Good.
Yes.
So for more information on Jo Scott-Coe and her book, Teacher at Point Blank, visit facebook.com/teacher at Point Blank. And that is it for today's edition of Base Sunday. I'm your host, Tracy Humphrey. Have a great week. Wow.